Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. It is Wednesday, almost a Monday, but it's Wednesday. Wednesday, it is the March the 4th. I believe that's my mother-in-law, would have been my mother-in-law's birthday today. So, yeah, hope you're doing well. Life's treating you good, and things are happening. We're getting ready to go into springtime, and I'm really ready for it. I'll tell you what, the older I get, the more I'm liking shorter winters, longer summers. I get that. And I still like the winter. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, so hope you're doing well today. Well, hey, listen, I got a question for you today. The question I have for you today is that whenever you walk into a difficulty or a conflict or anything else, who do you think the conflict belongs to? Who do you think the battle belongs to? Who do you think the all of the different things the pressure, whatever is who do you think it goes to? That's going to be the answer to that question will determine your level of fear, anxiety, quitting, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's what I was thinking about that, and I think it's something, especially now, as we are walking in and we're waging war against some pretty big evil things going on in the world and taking people out that have been part of that evil, if not the very embodiment of it. And so I got to think about that, and then I realized, we all face battles. We all face difficult things. And so I thought, today be kind of good in the light of the environment and headlines and all that kind of stuff. Maybe bring it home a little bit and just say, hey, what battles are we facing and how do we fight them? All right. Well, hey, listen, if I haven't got a chance to meet you, my name is Jay. My wife Vicki and I will lead this amazing church called The Gate, Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area. Love, absolutely love what we're doing. I say that every time. Good morning, Rhonda Strimmel. God bless you today, all the way from Texas. Hope you're doing good and the weather is treating you fine. And I say that every time that I love what we're doing. And granted, there, of course, as anything, you got to walk through difficult times, you walk through mountaintops, valleys, everything else. But honestly, after 37 years of being here and doing this, sometimes you just feel like you're just getting started and you just got to keep going. So, yeah. So I come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday like this simply to say, hey, I want to encourage you. I want to spur you on. But most importantly, I want you to know you're not alone and hope that you will see that God is always with you. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. And there's people like me out there just really rooting you on, praying. If you ever need anything, you just message us and we'll be right there. Well, hey, listen. So I was asking that question. How do you have bold faith, or how can your faith get bold in the middle of a battle like David or like Daniel or some of these men and women of the ancient world, or even as we're coming up on our country's 250th anniversary of being a country and the Declaration of Independence and all of that. And you're realizing, good morning, Tina. God bless you. Thanks for being here today. And you realize in that you're up against a giant that there is no chance anywhere that you're going to beat this giant. That battle is way too much. And I realized, because too many times we think the conflicts or the battles or the things that we face, the pressure, even the good pressure. You're building a business or you're building a family, and you're just going, and it's it just seems like the schedule never stops, and you're just going like, if I could just take a breath, type of thing. And granted, we should do those things. I understand that, but sometimes the battle is there, and it's raging hard. Financial battles, health battles. Take your pick, all these different battles. And we start feeling like, man, I'm going to break in this. Well, then I read this quote, and it really reminded me of something that I want to bring to you today, and I think it'll help you. It says, faith is bold because it knows the battle belongs to the Lord. In other words, the question that hits in my spirit every single time I face a really hard thing, I think to myself, well, whose battle is this? Why am I sitting here in this place? Why am I in Munster, Hammond, the Calumet, or the Chicagoland region? Why am I even here? I wasn't raised here. I didn't ever think to live here. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because God. I blame God on about everything. You know, it's just like He's the one that got me here. And it reminded me that it says, he who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. So the good things that are going on in your life, the things that He's brought into your life, the people that He's brought into your life. Good morning, Ray. God bless you. That's a good buddy of mine. Haven't seen you in a while. Blessings on you, my friend. The good things in life and the valleys in life or the battlefields in life, all of that, it belongs to God because He's the one that began this thing in you. He's the one. Now, there might be faces that are painted on all of these different battles or these good things. I mean, that the faces that you see remind you of maybe who introduced you to your spouse and you have a great marriage and you're like, oh man, because of that. But the reality comes down to is this. The quote is very simple, but it'll shift your whole mindset if you let it. If you let this basic mindset work, if you begin to look at your at everything that you look around and you start realizing that this thing belongs to God, that means the pressure you're facing, the opposition, the conflict, the sickness, the stress, the uncertainty, whatever your battle is, or the mountaintop to keep it going and getting it all things on there when you feel like you're about to break, whatever it is, uncertainty will cause you to quit. But faith doesn't panic first. Faith doesn't collapse first. Faith doesn't quit first. Faith gets bold because it's got one thing figured out. Is that faith knows, and faith gets bold because it knows something that fear forgets. It's not your fight. It's not your mountaintop. It's not your valley. It's not your giant. It is, good morning, Luan. Blessings on you. Thanks for being here today. The reality comes down to is that this fight belongs to God, and God has taken ownership of it. And if we will let Him, He will fight the battle for us. You don't have to go out into this place and just cry and don't get me wrong, I cry a lot. I sit there and cry. A lot of different stuff. But I mean, cry and complain and moan and whine and look at my life, it's horrible. And when the battle belongs to the Lord, you don't fight for victory, you fight from victory. Because God is always the victor. And if this is His battle, then He's going to win. And if you're basically the one that's carrying out the physical ramifications of this, then you will find yourself in the same position that David found. And it says there, and I love this story of David. In 1 Samuel 17:47, it says, everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues His people. This is the Lord's battle, and He will give you to us. You know what He's talking to? Who He's talking to? He's talking to Goliath, this mammoth piece of flesh with a sword and a spear and a javelin and words coming out that were literally shaking the very rocks that he was standing on. David didn't say, this is my battle and I hope God helps me. No. He says, this is the Lord's battle and I hope I'm good enough just to help Him because this is kind of fun. You see, the statement that was made by David brought a boldness in. And so the reality comes down to is this bold faith. Faith will become bold when we start understanding the right ownership. Some of us are exhausted because we've been carrying battles God never intended for us to carry alone. We're trying to control outcomes and people. We're trying to rearrange and manipulate timelines and situations to fix our own strength. And we try to deal with stuff that we need to get out of and let God take care of. But bold faith begins when you hand the ownership over to God. And simply just say, like in Exodus, the Lord Himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. There's, I can't tell you how many times when I've had some of my, it's been some people around me and they're just kind of like freaking out. I think I've told this story before, but this last year we went to the beach and had some of my grandkids with me. And we were out there, and it was one of those days, it was kind of like in September, and around here at the picnics and the parks and everything else and the beach, the little bees and the wasp, whatever, but the bees, they just get swarming all over. And man, you pull out a can of Coke, or you pull out a sandwich, you pull out a sweet roll or something like that, and they're just all around you. They're just zzz, 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 zzz. The thing about it is, if you just ignore them, they may eat your sandwich, but they're not going to bite you. You're not gonna. They're just gonna continue on. In finding those situations, I find myself that you don't have to do anything. It doesn't mean you do nothing. It just means you stop striving. Like, it all depends on you. And my twin granddaughters, they were freaking out, and everyone was like going and everything else. And then one of my I don't know if it was my granddaughter or my daughter, someone was sitting there going like, man, Papa J, how can you stay so calm in all that? Those bees are just swarming all around. And I said, because I know what bees do. They just annoy you. But you start swinging at them and you start slapping them, and they're going to come after you. Sometimes if the Lord fights for you, then you can stand with peace while you still take obedient steps. So I understood the enemy that I was facing with these stinking bees. And the reality comes down to is this: sometimes your involvement is just making the issue worse. And sometimes we need to understand that the battle belongs to the Lord. And so what is our next step? And that becomes our first response in a battle, in a conflict. In the mountaintop, where pride is very close at hand, or in the valley where death and destruction is close at hand, and we're trying to save both. We don't want to get prideful, if we're not careful. But our first response is we go to prayer, because the battle belongs to the Lord, and then prayer isn't a last resort. Prayer is your first strategy. You go to God because it aligns your focus. It releases what you can't control. You receive strength that you can't manufacture. And when you hear God's instructions, you know the next step. Because there is a way that seems right to man, but leads to destruction. And if we're just doing what seems right to us, chances are we're going to destroy the very thing that we're around. Your marriage, your family, your job, your finances, your health, all of those things. Because we're leaning on things that are on this plane, and God's going, I want you to get up here, get into the war room with me for a little bit, and I'll give you the strategies. You see, notice the order that happens here. Prayer leads to peace. Not panic leads to peace. Not control leads to peace. Not complaining leads to peace. Prayer leads to peace. And when you pray, you're not ignoring the battle. You're inviting the commander-in-chief into the battle. You're going into his war room, his strategy place. You're going into the very confines of how the battle was even birthed and born in all of these areas. When God often wins battles, he wins them in ways that we would not choose. There's times where I've been into difficulties, or I've been into things, and I sit back going like, well, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it that way. And God's going like, oh, dude, seriously, stay out of my plans. I just need you to follow them. I just need you to listen and not talk so much. That's the thing that I think so many times we get into this, is that when I'm going to go to God, I'm going to tell him this, I'm going to tell him that. I'm like, you're not getting it. When you go into the place, you're the last one to speak. God's the first one to speak. I would not ever go into President Trump's the Oval Office, or if I ever had the opportunity to be in the sit room or the strategy rooms or everything else, I wouldn't walk into there and like go right up to President Trump or go right up to General Kane and go like, well, this is what I think we should, let's do this. Or grab the little stick that pushes the Minnesota around on the map. Are you freaking kidding me? And a lot of times that's what we do. We go in there and we want to tell God, I want you to do it this way, do it this way. Like he's our private on the field and say, go here, go there. And we're trying to command the commander-in-chief. And that just isn't the way it works, folks. It's just not. Sometimes God fights by giving you endurance to pull off and not an instant escape. Sometimes he gives you wisdom instead of quick revenge. Sometimes he gives you favor over time instead of overnight results. That's why it's so important to come in and realize that at one point, changing your heart while he changes situations is more important to him than moving you out of the situation. I find it really interesting that God decided to put Daniel in the lion's den all night long. I find it interesting that he just put him in the lion's den, period, or allowed him to, or the fiery furnace, or the water during a storm. Why couldn't Jesus have just said, yo, Peter, hang on real quick, and make the sea just calm as glass, and then right there, instead of putting him in there in a flipping storm? You see, there's a great example here that we have, and his name is Jehoshaphat, and he faced a massive enemy, an army completely outnumbered what he had. He did the smartest thing possible. He prayed and he worshiped. And sometimes we don't realize that prayer and worship is warfare. It is the thing. It says there that he has trained my fingers for battle and my hands for war. And those was places, and what your hands and your fingers do is they lift up and they surrender to God. They play the very instruments that bring about the worship. It is this thing that we find out that our weapons are not carnal, but they are mighty to the pulling down of strongholds. And in other words, carnal weapons is what you and I are. We're carnal, and we are going to sit there and we're going to do it our way, and we're going to flip everybody off, tell everybody off, do whatever it is. But then God gives us the instruments and the instructions that sound almost unreasonable. Go out tomorrow and put your fingers and put your singers in the front, is what God says. Jehoshaphat is sitting there with this immeasurably unwinnable battle. And when he goes out there and he does it, he says to Jehoshaphat, don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged, for the battle is not yours, but God's. And so here he's going, yeah, God's going to come out there and we're going to have flaming swords and we're going to have all this. And he goes, no, can you put the choir out there? I need you to get the choir. Go tell the choir, get the robes on. Go tell the soloists, get ready. Go, hey, get the drummers, get the trumpeters, get the harpists, get them all out there and let's go after it. But I want you to put them first. Sit back, boys. You big warriors with everything that you've got going, just sit back because I need to do some things first. And it was worship. They had a worship night before they went to battle, out in front of the enemy. That's the point. The point was not that they were worshiping. They were worshiping out in front of the enemy. And it told the enemy, this is what it told the enemy. You need to understand something. You are not our focus. Every time that you focus on the things around, if you focus on all of that, what happens is you begin to the enemy goes, oh man, I've got their attention. If your attention is on the enemy, on the problem, on the mountain or on the valley, if your enemy is on all of these different things, you know what your focus is not on? It's not on God. So therefore, you're not going to hear him. You're not going to see him. You're not going to know what happens in those times. You see, this is what's wild. Worship became the very first line of offense. Worship and prayer. Sometimes the boldest thing you can do is worship when you'd rather worry. Because worship reminds you your soul is there. Worship reminds you that this is something that God has given you in your time. Worship reminds our soul that God is bigger than anything you're facing. You see, this is the problem. We always think, I'm just going to deny that the giant's there. I'm just going to deny that the army's there. That's not it. Worship doesn't deny that it's there. Worship says, this is my first line of offense, not defense. Trust me, you're not sitting here. Children of God, you need to listen to me on this and make it very clear. Mark my words. We are not on defense. Good morning, Lisa. God bless you. Thanks for being here today. We are not on defense. The Church of Jesus Christ, the child of God, the kingdom of God is never on defense. It's always on offense. It may feel like it. Faith isn't pretending that the battle isn't real. Faith is declaring that God is greater than the battle in the first place. Romans 8:31 says, if God is for us, who can be against us? And can I tell you, He's for you. And if you acknowledge that and you put Him out front, you put your worship in the first place, it doesn't mean nobody will come against you. It just means nobody who comes against you will override God's purpose for you. And when we understand that, we will understand that there is something that's inside of us. For God says this, we use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons. This is the carnal part, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. Remember this, some of the biggest battles are not out there. They're in your mind. Fear, shame, anxiety, discouragement, temptation, bitterness. And God has mighty weapons for those battles. Truth, prayer, worship, obedience, and His Word. You get into the Word, you obey what He says for the next step, you worship before you do anything else, then you find yourself in prayer, in truth, and then you're walking boldly and confidently. So what do you do today? Basically this, name the battle. Name the battle. Don't hide from it. Bring it to God. If there's a battle in your marriage, if there's a battle with your kids, if there's a battle in your finances, if there's a battle in your health, if it's a battle in your community, we are in a battle right now in the war, and I believe in it, and I've said it. You can see our response on our all of our places. Facebook, YouTube, everything else but our response. But I called this war, this battle that we are facing right now with Iran, it's a holy war because it wasn't about trying to usurp the authority of a nation. It is trying to destroy the authority that is straight from the pit of hell. This is a holy war against dark and light and all that kind of stuff. I can go on there, but we have to bring it, we have to name it, we have to understand this is what the battle is. We transfer the ownership. God, the Lord, you wouldn't just say it this way, God, this battle belongs to you. I'm done. I'm not making any more snide remarks, passive-aggressive comments. I'm not posting anything. This is yours. Pray first instead of spiraling first. Worship on purpose. Worship as if it is warfare, especially when you don't feel like it. Obey the next instructions that God gives you, and then watch the enemy crumble. That just came to me. That wasn't even in my notes. Anyway, bold faith doesn't need the whole plan. It just needs the next step. Quit trying to figure out how it's all going to come out, or quit trying to use your script to put on, well, if I do this, then that's going to come out like that, God, and I don't want that outcome. Quit worrying about the outcome and just worry about God. Just get into His presence and let Him come after you. Well, that's what I got for you today. It was a little bit longer, but I just wanted to, I just feel like we're in this season right now where we're all looking at this, and we need to fight right. All right? Hey, let me pray for you. Share this post. Encourage somebody out there. Thanks for being here. Make sure that you follow all those kinds of stuff so you can get all the notifications when this all comes out. All right? Let me pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You are the warrior war. You are War the warrior, and you believe that, and you know that there is nothing that's going to defeat you. So we just do exactly what you call us to do. We are here. This is not our battle. It's yours. This is not my statements. They're yours. This is not my life. It's yours. I give it. I willingly surrender it to you. We will go to you first. Prayer will be our first line of offense. Worship will be our first warfare of taking out the enemy, because we're not focused on the enemy. We're focused on you. And I thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen. Blessings on you guys. Hey, go out there. You're in the middle of the week. You got a couple more days to make this week count. So go out there. Enjoy it. Go out. Be an offense. Put a smile on your face. Get a song in your heart. And then go out there and make today count, because you're better than yesterday.